Horsepower in my darkest hour. Horsepower in my darkest hour. This my iron shoe, the God 72. I had to keep it G, I knew it'd be long overdue. The lone wolf, no crew. Some take notes on how I move, cause I'd rather extract the soul than be the bastard that lose. I give no answers and clues. The master's improved. I keep the shine on my tools. The heated 9 on you fools. So your beef finds its time in stools. The crimes I choose keeps me paid, not slayed. That's why I'm chopping on blades. A jack of all trades. Never spending days in a cage popping champagne. Only made man that's custom made. Some afraid when I came to the game. No emotions didn't play, now they got something to say. For today and tomorrow, with the sorrow we laugh. And I got too much smash to borrow anyone's cash. A survivor at last and never begging. We picked the locks on the gates to get inside of heaven. Got pride with weapons, paid my bills and left them guessing. Now the feds is asking questions. Never let them see you sweating, bring infection to your connections. The rope becomes your blessing. You niggas hang out so you won't feel no stressing. See the parallels of hell as we hear church bells. No, we're never compelled. Take the oath and won't rot in jail. You niggas is obviously fairy tale. Put your face on a t-shirt and now we got souls for sale. Oh well, never tell is the motto. Life is hard as we chug on the whiskey bottle. Make your bank account look like you hit the lotto. And when I'm on the streets, only goddesses follow. Horsepower in my darkest hour. Horsepower in my darkest hour. They think a nigga filthy, I'll never plead guilty. Spend a couple racks at the stove, I hope you feel me. They think a nigga filthy, I'll never plead guilty. Spend a couple racks at the stove, I hope you feel me. I got my back against the wall, I make a couple calls. Pimp this telephone, that's that grown man ball. My program won't fall, trying to forget it all. Spending dough at the mall, acting like I'm within the law. But we outside, niggas try to get a clout ride. Cause I'm bout mine, and I'm never out of time. Won't ever doubt my grind. Walk a dead line, dirty money kinda shine while I age like wine. Cause the game's bittersweet. The prison from this ism won't let a bitch sleep. You see me then you don't, gotta keep the mystique. Just check the technique. They think a nigga filthy, I'll never plead guilty. Spend a couple racks at the stove, I hope you feel me. They think a nigga filthy, I'll never plead guilty. Spend a couple racks at the stove, I hope you feel me. Back to the basics, problems like my blunt, nigga, I'ma always face it. Ain't worried about expenses, cause I'll always remake it. While I'm rocking the latest, radiant cuts on the bracelet. Intoxicated and concentrated, whether sober or wasted. Shit ain't over till I take it, that's a thief in the night. No bark, no bite, we slit throats and we move in silence. Cause it ain't no talking when you gotta choose violence. I'm on a diet, so the beef is no discussion. We seek the repercussion. Money grows on trees, so we smoke it like it's nothing. Cause it's always something. They think a nigga filthy, I'll never plead guilty. Spend a couple racks at the stove, I hope you feel me. They think a nigga filthy, I'll never plead guilty. Spend Spending a couple racks at the store, I hope you feel me.
Yo, what's good? You got 720 in the motherfucking house, man. Y'all go to the website, theblackmansbible.com. That's where all the raffles are at. You want to get the Kicked Out of Heaven, volume 1, 2, and 3. The Black Man's Bible, the Ethereal Law, all paperback. And then the 4 ebooks, Real Nigga Etiquette Voodoo Edition. And also the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women, volume 1 and volume 2 in PDF will come within that deal of $100. Okay. Go ahead and hit the Cash App. Keep me alive. I keep you alive. That's what's going on here. All 3 books are currently under the 33-degree sale. So if you want volume 1, 2, and 3 for just $33, and that $33 does include shipping and handling, go to kickedoutofheaven.com and get it. Okay, I still got deals going at Millennium DVDs. Let's get into it. You know, it's been a very, very, very wild July. You know, this is probably the most significant July that I've ever been in. You know, peace to my nigga Philosophical in the room, and peace to Brent Booker over here. I did get your donation. I didn't notice it during the course of that one video, but I definitely want to give a shout out for doing that. You know what I'm saying? He won up Gene Cole. They both at 100. Let's see who can get past them. You dig what I'm saying? You can hit the Cash App, or you can hit the PayPal link for the donation. It is all up to you how you want to do it. But as I was stating, it's been a very wild July. I mean, what can you say about it? Well, we're looking at people's hands getting blown up, Trump doing more stuff with these tariffs, with the government, you know, and we don't know what's coming next. We don't know which direction the world is going. Everybody is very confused on why would we intentionally destroy this country, especially after 400 years of slavery. And that's a multitude of races, including, you know, the Mexicans and whatnot were involved in that. We got civil rights fights we've been through. We've been through so much as a people, and with this country we call America, why would we intentionally destroy it? You know, I definitely want to put it out here. All the saints and angels need to go to all the locations in America pertaining to the floods, whatever situations are going on there over there with Israel and Iran. We need to stop this nonsense with all these multitude of wars, as if we're not educated people that can come to a common ground and agree on whatever status we need to agree upon, so these things can halt. We're not with the position of people dying with whatever is going on in Ukraine and Russia, and not to forget the conflicts that's going on in Sudan and the conflicts that's going on in Eritrea and Ethiopia. We need to stop all forms of nonsense, including what's going on with the Rwanda conflict, because supposedly that has been rebirthed. We're making ourselves look like fools. Maybe that's because of the year of the snake that we're in. This is Chinese year of the snake. I am in my Chinese zodiac. I'm a pig, and the pig and the snake are supposed enemies. I don't really like saying that. Very good things happened to me during the year of the snake, as that's when I moved to Las Vegas, and some crazy stuff did happen before I moved here, but we got here. That's the point. And then, you know, we're dealing with a lot of chaos. So hopefully we make it through the next 6 months of this year without, you know, any more conflict, and things can simmer down. All right. But this is the position we're in. Forewarning for everybody that is my fans, I definitely appreciate you. I definitely appreciate your purchasing of the products, you know, because I don't really try to look for direct assistance. I'd rather put something that's tangible material in your hand, hence the books that I've written, and also music. If you stream me on Spotify and other locations like Tidal and Apple Music, I definitely appreciate it. But I definitely want to tell my fans, if you want to download videos of mine specifically from this channel, I suggest you do it now, because I've been called into a higher realm, and I'm definitely going to be clipping a lot of them. All the videos of me talking online will no longer be available. So, and I suggest, and I request that if you download my videos, please keep them for your personal viewage and your personal storage. Do not repost any videos of anything that I put out, regardless of how much you may like it and regardless of how much you think the people may need to know it. The people, obviously, as we have experienced, feel as if they don't need to know anything, and they want to operate in whatever fashion, God has left willing for them to operate in, and we will leave it there. Teaching, quote unquote, is not necessarily a thing that a lot of people take as a seriousness. This is definitely a space of, quote unquote, entertainment. There's far more entertainment and instructional videos that is in the form of assisting you with things on the YouTube than there is, quote unquote, education. And if it is education, is done in some AI cartoon format that the people need, because the people have, a stabilized mind frame that is adolescent, and that's regardless of age. So if you want to download videos, go ahead and download the videos. Most definitely by this coming week, I'll be clearing up all videos. I will leave my music up, but I'll be clearing up all videos with me doing any form of commentary. And as I stated, I request that you not repost anything that you have downloaded for your own personal viewing. Okay, let's keep that very, very, very clear. This is a serious matter. And the reason why it's a serious matter is because it's very clear that the conscious community has, disintegrated, and it will not rehabilitate. And the reason why it won't rehabilitate is because it's extremely embarrassing with the activities that we've carried on with when it comes to the construction of the conscious community online, and also, the so-called revolution, the so-called, the Black Panthers and the different other fraternity groups, the NOI, so on and so forth. We've embarrassed ourselves. And it's not necessarily as if we've embarrassed ourselves out of a good heart and out of having good intentions with whatever message or mission that you were trying to carry on, but it's evident through the audience that we speak to has not taken anything serious, and the element of seriousness is just not inside the mentality of Black people overall. That's why Real Nigga Etiquette Voodoo Edition was very difficult book for me to write. It was more difficult for me to write Voodoo Edition than it was for me to write The Kicked Out of Heaven. And if you were to feel the power in between those books are definitely equal. I wouldn't be surprised if the Voodoo Edition sort of outweighed the scales a little bit. And the reason why is because we are ethnically attached to the Real Nigga Etiquette Voodoo Edition and the material that's in there. And we are also, the results and the evidence of all the activity that has occurred that I, documented inside that literature. And one thing that I discovered was collectively, we're not unified psychologically. We're not unified on our decision making. We don't like to submit to order. We don't like, as the brother Philosophical said, when I was on the phone with him, he said, niggas think that, order is white people shit, or to bring a conclusion to a situation is something that white people do. That's white people shit. And with that mentality, we have indirectly and by default have enforced in our minds that all individuals speaking some form of uh, information that may be assistant within your daily life, or may be related to you culturally, automatically puts you in some type of care bear position, or you're somebody to be attacked, or you're some form of preacher. And that is the level of ignorance that the majority of the black race is involved in. So with that being stated, that's a chord you're not going to break. And there's been a lot of failed situations ever since Marcus Garvey up to now that have attempted these things. And since from Marcus Garvey up to now, we can't keep the feds out the room. So the feds are watching, and that's most definite. The feds have implemented plants inside these so-called rooms, and 9 times out of 10, the host of the podcast is the Fed. Where did they get their financing? And that is one of the most important part about these things, is that when you see a person doing good, or so-called showing arbitrary signs of elitism, or social status symbols, they have some form of financial backing. And until you can find out what the financial backing is, by default automatically equate them to the feds and being financed by the feds. And that's just the bottom line to it, because it's definitely evident the majority of them aren't educated enough to even attain the level of finances, as we have seen through what I've done with Millennium DVDs and the products and the businesses that I've created off the sweat of my own back and brow, that these individuals who have these finance podcasts don't have products, and they don't know how to conduct business properly. If they did know how to conduct business properly, guess what? Millennium DVDs would have never been born. Okay, Millennium DVDs was born out of the complaints of the audience and the people. Okay, Kicked Out of Heaven was born out of the complaints that the quote unquote conscious community had about Caucasians. Okay, the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women was born from the complaints from the podcast, and that's dealing with all races. So what we're looking at here is that, please take this note down if you have the aspirations to go ahead and build your own form of business, that it's either product or service. And if you're going to develop a product, you have to have a product that is a solution to a problem. Okay. Now, a lot of these solutions to the problems are always going to fall into the space of, dummies for this and dummies for that. It is called DIY, is do it yourself. Okay. So if you can't do it yourself and you have a dependency mind frame, then, you're going to be definitely stuck. And a lot of people like being stuck. They like their dimension of clicking on a video and making themselves feel as if they've gained some Harvard degree by listening to other people talk. Okay. Do we apply any action? No, there's no action applied. Is there any enforce or attempt to control? No, there's no enforce to attempt to control. And black people don't like to control things, because if something blows up in their face, which every true scientist is prepared for, there will be failures during the course of your testing that it's extremely embarrassing, and they're worried about being embarrassed in front of individuals who have done nothing in the world. There's a lot of the childish mind takes the judgment of unachievers as important, and I don't take the judgment of unachievers as important. During the course of me writing the Kicked Out of Heaven, the value for humanity sort of just like dwindled down for me personally. And there's a multitude of reasons why that is valid, and we see this as the activity of the quote unquote elite. As of right now, let's say if you have $10,000 plus to your name, you're richer than 94% of the planet. Now, why would that be? It's that way because the majority of Native people, they listen to their women, And fun is definitely a system that is led by women to keep men underdeveloped, broke, immature, childish, and a non-investor into their existence and not taking care of their boundaries. I have to take care of my boundaries. I have a lot of things going on in my life, and no longer can I allow myself to be in this position of exposing a lot of secrets to existence that people don't hold dear to their heart or don't take seriously. And as I stated before, when I wrote the Voodoo Edition, I definitely discovered there's a multitude of different psychological faculties that the Black race does not have in connection and unison that would assist our telepathy, because we did not go through these experiences together. So, for instance, you have a lot of laissez-faire, lackadaisical mentality with Black people, and it's usually found in the phrase of, it's going to be all right. And you want to know why we can say it's going to be all right? Because the Black race hasn't been hit with a plague. You see, the Indians have been hit with a plague. And we're talking about the Hindu Indians. And the Chinese have been hit with a plague. It's in their history. The Japanese have been hit with a plague. It's in their history. When you look at the entirety of Europe, they've been hit with a plague. Plagues that lasted for the round of 100 to 400 years. We'll give it that minimum. Any space in between 1347 from the Black Death and the Black Death, or the Black Plague is what it's called, all the way up to the Great Plague of London in 1667 was the year. You can catch that information by Daniel Defoe. Okay, the literature that's written about the plagues of the early times, specifically the Black Death, is written by Giovanni Boccaccio. Okay, so, and that the title of that book is called The Decameron. Let me show you. This is called The Decameron. So you know there ain't no fucking bullshit going on here. I don't just talk out my ass. You see? This is it. This is the literature right here. I like to buy antique books that appreciate in value, and that's the problem. I don't know too many people that are watching my videos like to own things that appreciate in value, and that's where we differ. And I'm not saying that specifically about my community. I'm just saying that my name circulates amongst the community of individuals that definitely find education as a form of entertainment and not to be taken seriously, because they don't know the seriousness of a plague. They don't know the seriousness of an executioner. They don't know the seriousness of a brothel. They don't know the seriousness of justice for crime. They don't know the seriousness of these things, of sickness, ailments. They don't know the seriousness. It's not in their DNA to comprehend the seriousness. You have to understand that 300, 400 years of slavery, which you like to cry and boo-hoo about, is nothing compared to the years of slavery that has went on with the multitude of different races on the planet. Do you understand? Japan enslaved China. Do you understand? The Europeans also enslaved Chinese and Japanese and brought them out there to the islands in Hawaii and had them working on sugar canes. Do you understand? Your little 300, 400 years is nothing but a fart in time. You're a belch in time. That's it. Okay? Very small space. You have to understand that Europeans enslaved Europeans since ancient Greece all the way up to now. Okay? Okay? This is the same situation with what's going on in Saudi Arabia. You dig what I'm saying? No, I'm not gonna remove my music. I'll leave my music up here. But if I get any form of pullback from what I got going on right now, or the realm, the industries I'm about to be getting into, and I will take that music down, most definitely. Because look at rap. We destroyed rap. It was feeding us good. There was many millionaires that was created, and there was a lot of liar millionaires that was created. But did we hold it in any level of prestige? No. We've lost a mass amount of fans. over time because of terrible decisions and embarrassing moves that have been made in public, especially when it comes to the degradation of women overall, regardless of race, and inclusive directly our own women who we were born by, is fully degraded in the music. The music does not talk about any form of adult subject matter, and that's why it's been minimized to littles and youngs and babies and boys and shit. You understand? And the God 720, my name alone doesn't fit in that realm. Okay. So because I don't fit in that realm, I can't, I won't fuck around. But say if you was to throw me 500,000 right now, yeah, I'll put out another album and it's gonna be fire. And there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming. But to have my face in the expose and to be, complaining or talking about the subjects in which I talk about, which may disrupt, the socialism or the propaganda that's being put out here is it's not beneficial for me. My fans can only do so much. My fans do have their own bills to pay. You all do have your own children. So I do understand completely. And I can't be sitting here trying to put weight on strangers to, assist me or support me in any format when they don't have the collective intelligence for support. You see, and this is another thing that we discovered when I was writing the Voodoo Edition. This is another one of those psychological faculties that is not there. You see, we also have to understand, because you can't tell me one area in history where black people got together and supported one individual or supported one industry and created and built that shit from the bottom up with their own financial assistance and put boundaries around it so it could be protected from, any interference from any outside force. Can you name one? I would like for somebody to put it in the comments. Prove me wrong, because that's the name of the game here. The name of the game is called Prove Me Wrong. And, when somebody tells you that you can't do something, what do? You prove them wrong. You see, you thought everybody was an idiot in America. You thought everybody was a Coca-Cola drinking, McDonald's Big Mac eater. Therefore, I had to produce the Kicked Out of Heaven to show you that I could prove you wrong, that there is no way that I am near that level of intellect. And I am extremely offended that you would think that I am. You dig what I'm saying? And I also had to do this for a lot of the black males who thought that it was okay to be out here with the gold teeth and acting like a fucking retard and thought that we were all going to fit in the same box. No, I want my line to be a little bit separate from individuals who carry themselves in that nature. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's going on. All right. That is clearly what's going on. And you supported your Umar Johnsons who have definitely disappointed many people. You supported your Polites, you supported your Nature Boys, you supported your Young Pharaohs, and they've all failed you. And so that shows me collectively that your decision making is completely fucked off, especially if we go all the way down to Marcus Garvey. You supported a lot of individuals that have feds right there with them at the dinner table and didn't do a proper amount of investigation to discover that point. And this is a time period where there was no cell phones, where there was no nothing, and you could definitely catch a wire or a report or follow somebody to whatever destinations they're going to at 2 a.m. in order to give report. You understand? There's no way you can have feds around you or you being associated with the feds and you're not giving report. You have to give report. Do you understand? So, it's too much trustworthiness going on. It's too much hobnobbing. It's too much. We all right, slap the five, we gonna dance around. You let Drake come out here and say that London rappers are the best rappers in the world. Have you lost your mind? And but his man's got stabbed right in the neck right after that statement was made. And if you can't see that these things are related, then I suggest you put on your bifocals. Okay. Yeah, there's been a lot of terrible things. That's why let's put this comment up here. You said that's why my music is important, though. It's the preservation of masculinity. If my music was important, then I'd be sitting in, I'd be able to produce some very good music videos, and we would be in a very better financial position if that was the case. If it's so important, then make sure those things happen, because what's important is the roof over your head, and you have made sure that the roof has stayed over your head, and you have made sure that there's food in the refrigerator. So this thing is called making sure. You see what I'm saying? And I make sure that I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm not going to be, identified and said status, and that's why I put this literature out here, so for other black males don't have to be victimized with the responses from society from looking at these other idiots who have no recognition of when they're embarrassing, and that's from Kanye West all the way down to your local June bug. Do you understand? Okay, so the Kicked Out of Heaven was produced for the Gems for Hymns, for the Orlando, for the Philosophical. You understand me? For the Gene Cole, for the Brick Altar, and all my other homies, for my nigga Fetty. You understand me? So we can have a line, an invisible aura line that automatically separates us from individuals walking around here with dreads on their head named Jamal. Okay, and with gold teeth, and the fucking NBA young boy is their idol. We need to divide that line, and I don't think there's anybody else that's done anything in existence to divide the line on who is who and what is what when it comes to the black male's position or when it comes to our culture overall. Okay, that is the bottom line. All right, I've been very serious about how I've operated. I've been very serious about the material that I've put out. I've been very serious about being punctual on my timing, on coming on YouTube, and with the subject matter, and with the things that I've encountered that I thought it was important for you to understand and to utilize while you're out in your everyday marching in the world. Okay, and that's just the bottom line to it. You see, so I've been serious. I need to see the seriousness of other people. If my audience group was far more serious, then guess what? We would be here. I believe in strength. I don't believe in weakness. Weakness is for the fool. Strength is for the seriousness. And that's all there is to it. And that's why billionaires who have the strength, they sit at what? Oak desks. They live behind what? Gated communities, because it is very serious. We're serious here. And it's another thing that I discovered during writing the Voodoo edition, was the invisible war of the spoken word versus the written word. And me and my homie, we had a very long conversation about this the other night. And the spoken word versus the written word. The spoken word, you can say whatever. Let me show you what the spoken word is. The spoken word is the reliability, is the world that the women rely upon. Written word is the world that men rely upon, pertaining to contract and constitutions, Declaration of Independence, Bibles, religious manuals and things of that nature. It's all male dominated. Do you understand me? Because the written word cannot move. Okay, and your signature and agreement to the written word does not move, and you must follow said protocols, or there will be a consequence that follows. Now, the spoken word is, the mother telling her child, "Oh yeah, your father was Hercules. He went out there and killed 4 or 5 bulls in a week. Oh, your father was Zeus. Oh, your father was this. Oh, the Aphrodite came down from the sky. Oh, the thunder gods." Yeah, you can spit a lot of bullshit with that spoken word, but you can't spit that bullshit with the written word. Even though what is spoken off the human mind it turns into the written word, and the written word isn't necessarily important until we're dealing with science, the documentation of science, until we're dealing with law and litigation, okay, until we're dealing with court and we're dealing with religious script, okay, and other forms of documents that are serious pertaining to your existence on if you're going to live today or die. That's all written word shit. Besides that, in the contractual realm, the majority of it is blasé. Okay, and that's where we come into your Lord of the Ring books and all your Harry Potter books and what we call fiction. So what am I showing you here? If the spoken word is by 98% nothing but fiction and exaggerated bullshit, which is lies, and then we're also saying that the written word can also have a large percentage of exaggeration and lies and fantasy and wishing and hoping, then what are we really stating? We're stating that the at least 75 to 80% of the human dynamic relies on exaggeration and bullshit and lies. And this is why if you have $10,000, you are richer than 90% of the planet right now, because 90% of the planet relies on exaggeration and fucking lies, and that is where their brain is built. So we must understand that everything underneath 1500 is exaggeration and lies by majority rule. That includes all mythology systems, yes, even Egypt. Okay, and this includes the folklore stories. Okay, this includes the stories of the saints. Okay, there's all exaggeration lines here. Okay, fantasy talk, and the humans like fantasy talk. It must create some level of dopamine in their head, and usually fantasy talk is coming from who? Mammy. Okay, because father has to build the log cabin, so you have to be mathematically sound and correct with that. And guess what? That's where we're dealing with written numbers. Okay, and the written numbers are on the ruler, and that's how we structure things. You see how that works? You see, so one of the true battles on this planet is spoken word versus written word. Okay, and spoken word is going to be the woman's realm. Written word is going to be the masculine realm. I rely on reality, whether it's a spoken word or whether it's written word, and that's just how I have to move, because it's better to survive like that with your own intellect than it is to survive on the reliance of individuals who depend on fantasy and cartoons and exaggeration and bullshit. And the majority of humans, their heads are wired into that space. And you see that clearly when the police show up and they're like, can I get your license? And you want to battle the cop who can bring 20, 30 people up in here, all armed. They all have walkie-talkies, and that's just first line of defense, my nigga. Don't let the SWATs get called up. Don't let the marshals get called up. Don't let the sheriffs get called up. Don't let the constables get called up. And then that's just the first front line, all of those 5 groups. Okay. Then you got ATF, DEA, FBI. You got the NSA. Okay, and then that's just the second row. Okay, then you got the National Guard come down, and then you have military. Okay, and you will do nothing but get incarcerated for whatever retarded deed you were doing, and thinking that you can battle the police because you are a sovereign citizen, which in essence, written word or spoken word, both get defeated by manpower and agreements amongst that manpower. Okay, so if I have more men than you, it doesn't matter about what you've written on your documents. I will shred the paper. I will light it afire. Okay, and that's how that works. And a lot of people don't like these fine lines to live by. A lot of people don't like to basically what we've been saying is stand on your ground, stand your ground, or stand on business is the phrase. People don't like that shit. They want to be able to move around and dance around and wiggle and jiggle, just like the native has been doing for the past fucking 2,000, 3,000 years. You're wiggling and jiggling and shit. You're always dancing with the fucking bone in your fucking nose and shit. You see what I'm saying? And then we have a whole nother system of that. It's very interesting. Could you imagine living in a tribe today? And there's tribes on the planet. Now, when I say tribe, your brain may go right back to Africa. No. There are still tribes in China, in Russia area. There are still people operating in tribal format in Canada. There are still people operating in tribal format in South America. Let's keep that very clear. When I say tribe, I'm not just correlating to Africa. Maybe because that's where, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. So that's based off of your intellect line. Okay. So a lot of people are only educated with, what they may have seen with African tribes. But no, that's not the case. Could you imagine being born into a tribal condition when these motherfuckers on the planet, on the same planet as you, is talking FaceTime in their phone and they got planes flying at Mach 5 breaking the sound barrier? Could you imagine what level of ignorance you're in? Or what level of neglect? Or what level of violence, because you haven't allowed anybody to update you. You are scared to live in an industrial society. You have allowed your immediate availability, which is provided a form of laziness, to survive in very unhealthy conditions. Your hygiene isn't up to par. Your ladies look dusty. You don't have any means of travel. You see what I'm saying? And we allow those conditions to sustain, and we want to protect those type of conditions with our cultural barriers, so we don't get into what's going on with the world. And that is a high level of ignorance, because guess what? It's called manpower, and the majority of the planet has submitted to industrial rule. And we will continue on with industrial rule. And that's what Trump is trying to do right now. Trump is trying to bring the manufacturing back to America. And we all know that, after a 20, 30-year absence of us not having the responsibility of developing our own things through these manufacturing companies, we have gotten fat. Our women have gotten obese. Our men have gotten obese. And we've gotten lazy. We've become entitled with our immediate food availability and all these other things, that we forgot that we need to be self-sufficient. And that's all Trump is trying to do, is to bring some self-sufficiency to the country. But we all know that the American citizen is not going to go to the warehouses. And then a lot of people want to say, or the manufacturing plants, shall I say. And a lot of people want to say, oh, they're going to bring the robots in. Robots will not come. Let me be very clear. There will be no robots. It's all a heebie-jeebie hoax that's going on your head. And I'm going to tell you why. The chips for robots that are also the same chips that are being utilized in the vehicles and also in our cell phones are being developed in Taiwan. And they develop, I think it's about 70 to 80% of the chips on the planet. So that's for all cultures on the planet. So guess what you've done? You've exhausted your resources. There's no more minerals to utilize for these chips. There's specific minerals that are needed and required. And because you already are at a shortage, guess what? You can't mass produce. So all your little heebie-jeebie fucking Terminator dreams are fucking destroyed. That's not going to happen. And all you weak motherfuckers that are out here in the world that are trying to support that fucking bullshit, you will fall into demise with your dreams of having a robot sweeping your fucking floor because you're a lazy fucking can't do it your goddamn self. And that's what's happening here. There will not be minerals for the chips for any of these robots that you dream to have. China is right now at a point where they provided 70% of the electric vehicles on the planet. So the same cell phones that America won't allow to be in America, I think they call Huawei or whatever. It's HUAWEI is the name of the company. Guess what? All your vehicles that have Bluetooth technology in it has those same chips coming from that same company. But we can't get their cell phones. And China is at a very advanced position when it comes to the development of their technology. And that's the difficult part here, because America is not culturally bound. You see, America is not religiously, racially, and culturally sufficient. All other nations are. So when you go to Poland, you only see Polish folk talking Catholicism, right? You may have Polish Jews, and the Polish Jews will have their section of Judaism. Let's keep it clear. China, when you go to China, you see Chinese. When you go to Japan, you see Japanese. I take you down here to Zimbabwe, you will only see the Zimbabweans. If I take you to Congo, you will only see the Congolese. Do you understand how this is working? So when we come to America, you see black, white, Asian, Hispanic, You see all this shit going on, and none of them are saying the same race. None of them are of the same race. None of them are of the same religion, and nor do they agree on their holidays or anything of that. In China, they do. In Congo, they do. In India, Hindu, they do. They agree upon. Even the Native American Indians have secluded themselves to their reservations, and guess what? They have their practices that are sound amongst them. We are in the position to win any war because we don't have a telepathic spiritual basis. Okay, that is connected through all of us, whether that be black, white, Hispanic. We don't have the racial tie that all other nations on this planet has. You understand? So by that, it's almost a guarantee that there's going to be a failure. You see? So we're not going to have any robots. You can forget about it. There's not going to be any robots. You know, if you thought the creators of mankind, who's created us into these phenomenal chemical computers, flesh robots, that's all you are. You're a chemical computer. Male, female, white, black, you're a chemical computer. If you think the beings that put us together and took all those intricacies to put the nervous system together, to put this together and that together, are going to allow you to be sitting up here trying to develop a what we call a robot, you've lost your mind. You've lost your mind. Gene Cole hit me with another $100. Let's see if anybody can one up him. He's up on the poker table right now. Let's see if we can do some friendly competition and see where y'all at. You dig what I'm saying? So there will be none of this. You know, there will be no robots. You can forget about it. You know, all your little AI dreams and those who support the AI and all of this nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. You know, that you have submitted to such a situation where you utilize a robot in a position to be superior to you. How dare you? You know, but this bounces back off of the secrets of mankind that nobody knows. And we're talking about the traumas that adults are living out from their childhood. You know, the random excessive abuse that's going on, that's unnecessary. You know, the pedo activity that's extremely unnecessary. You know, we have situations here where alcohol consumption in America has plummeted by 80% in between our generation and the next generation. And I was talking to a homie about it, and he was like, man, that's a large number. I wonder why that's going down. I said, you see, this is where you have to study the statistics about what's going on in the everyday home. And I can tell you right now, how many children do you think woke up 2-3 in the morning with red and blue lights coming through their bedroom window and their mother and father screaming and throwing shit at each other in the living room? How many? Because it is very clear that the next generation is only worried about taking care of a bedroom. You know, they'll go down here to the hotel and live out of the hotel, you know, because that's all they care about is one bedroom. And that's the extension of their mind when it comes to the maintenance of a thing. The maintenance of their living quarters. Why? Because during their childhood, they stayed in their bedroom the entire time because their parents were getting fucked up in the living room and doing all types of heinous ass activity, neglecting the child. So the child's mind got put into a box format of only being able to take care of a bedroom. Okay. So that is why alcohol consumption has plummeted, is because the next generation has been extremely traumatized from our neglect and retardation of following this whole thing called fun over the past 20 years. Instead of you aligning yourself with the responsibilities that need to be adhered to as an adult for us to sustain society. And now we have a president up here who can make whatever move he wants to, while you all were out here demonizing and clowning the man. And you expected no retaliation from all of your derogatory statements you've made about Trump and all the bullshit and crazy shit you said about him, said about his wife, said about his children. You think he doesn't have the drive or the desire to retaliate? And I'm pretty sure he doesn't, because he's in on the billions, but he may steer his focus on what he really wants in life to be more on the self-centered side. As I just heard recently, ever since he's gotten into office, he's already made $1 billion for his pockets, right? He didn't sprinkle that billion amongst the people, but you are the same people who talk so much shit. You even tried to assassinate the nigga more than once, and you think there will be no retaliation? Okay? Just like Drake. You treated Drake bad. You talked all this shit about Drake. Even though you partied with him for the past 20 years, you talked all that shit about him, right? And now he gets up and makes a public statement saying, oh yeah, London rappers are better than American rappers. Right. Because of the way you niggas treated somebody, and now you didn't expect any type of retaliation. You know, there's a cause, but that shows that you don't have a scientific mind. That also shows you don't have a business oriented mind. Scientific mind understands what? Cause and effect. Okay. What does a business mind understand? Action and reaction. For every action, there's a reaction. For every cause, there is an effect. Let me see here. We have a question here. We're going to go ahead and put up. It says, so Wire for War is no longer a threat on a Mad Max level? That's a very good question. Now, everything that I stated about, the chips being, mineral reliant, and we've exhausted the resources for those minerals, therefore we can't mass produce robots, right? And he's referring to the Mad Max level. Is it still possible to occur? If you pay attention to what's going on in Japan and China and the size of robots that they've created, a lot of their robots and some of their war robots are up to like 10 feet tall, and they have guns on both arms, and they're humongous. They've definitely attempted to recreate the Transformer. Now, if you got, you deploy 100 of those, you don't need that much chips to do what you need to do within the size. So it's really about the size of what type of robots we're developing, and also their capabilities. So we have to understand that the stupidity of our modern day human doesn't know when to put a cap on things. Okay. And say, you know what, we've done great. We need to stop right here. And we need to exercise with this layer until we find all the discrepancies and all of our failures within this zone. And then we need to collect up all the chips and collect up all the materials that's needed. And then we will write down what we need to perfect with the levels that we've already created by going through a multitude of tests, and then go to the next level. No. What's going on right now is that they're trying to just go ahead and go all the way to the Blade Runner level and develop humans that are robots and see if they can mass produce those. And that's where you're going to fail. We have to understand the power in recycling. And we're not paying attention to that, because not only are we looking at, robot development and things of that nature, we have to deal with the mentality of the individuals that are financing these projects and those who work inside these projects. They're millionaires. And what's the problem here? They're having a pissing contest. Millionaires and billionaires are having a pissing contest with each other to see who can have the most finances and all of this other immature ass level. You see what I'm saying? It's just like I had to break down to my homeboy about Amazon, right? Jeff Bezos supposedly makes $1 million every 36 seconds, right? So let's look at that. What is really being sold here? Why is Jeff Bezos making $1 million every 36 seconds? He's not making $1 million off of products being sold or he is making the money off of happy deliveries, but he's not making the money off of the products being sold. So you have to understand psychology to understand business. And what psychological point has he exploited, is the word, in order to gain his finances? The immature, inferior mind frame of needing to have elite servitude, because that's all it is. Amazon provides elite servitude, which means, and that's the same thing as DoorDash. DoorDash is elite servitude. Okay. What is Uber? Uber is elite servitude. Okay. Personal taxi is how people feel. People feel as if there's some type of form of special because they have this elite servitude system. And now they think that they're elite because they have adapted a indirect slavery system. Okay. And that's what it is. You have adapted an indirect slavery system, and you think that you sit in the chariot with the white horse and you're a Cinderella because you got DoorDash dropped off at your door. Because the Amazon guy came up and put the package by your door and took a picture. And now you feel like a royal, don't you? That's all he's getting paid off of. He's getting paid off of the immaturity of the human mind and the standard status of the immaturity of the human mind. Because I am guilty of this as well, you know. And where am I guilty of it at? I remember when I was a little kid, and they used to be like, yeah, man, you could get this baseball off the Wheaties box if you send in this, if you cut out this little section of the cereal box and you send it in, we'll give you a baseball, and we'll send it through the mail. And bro, a nigga used to sit on the porch like, did I get some mail? Did I get some mail? Did I get some mail? It's just like when the caller ID came in. The caller ID came in, and you ran to the house and checked the caller ID. Did anybody call me? Anybody call while I was gone and shit? You see what I'm saying? Okay. And while I'm talking about that in these cell phones, let's go do some money religion level shit. Because right now, there definitely needs to be a class action lawsuit against one of these cell phone companies or these fucking apps with their capabilities of what is it called? Of invasion of privacy is the phrase. Okay. These cell phones and these apps are invading privacy, and we need to go ahead and put together a class action lawsuit on that. And the money religion can eat. All of us can eat. The Picassos that I've loaded up on my shorts are very real. They're very available. The one that I just loaded up today is valued at $8 million. But like I said, I can get anybody a 25% discount. And I know there's some big bodies watching me. Everybody knows, because you niggas been watching me and duplicating and re-putting and mimicking whatever the fuck I say, and you put it up in this public line on this dumbass media shit. You know what I'm saying? I can't really, and because you have no source material, you have no good source. You're all rerun. Your movies are rerun. Your cartoons are rerun. Your video games are rerun. Ain't nobody put out no new video games. Ain't nobody put out no new consoles. Ain't nobody released no new cell phones. Ain't nobody released no new forms of TVs. Why? Because there is a chip shortage. There's been a chip shortage for a long time. Okay. And that's also probably why Nvidia skyrocketed and was the first tech company to reach $4 trillion on the stock market. And because they're probably the only ones, and they have direct link to what's going on in Taiwan. Okay. And that's probably why it went up, because everybody else's chips are not up to par of where they need to be, and their future foresight is looking very dim because they don't have the minerals, and now that Africa is taking back their gold mines and all things of that nature, things may get very awry in those positions, in those situations as well, because that's where a good surplus of gold is coming from, and the gold is also needed to develop these chips. You understand? So, this is what it is, my friend. But the days of me being online is definitely coming to an end, as we can all see that the conscious community is definitely at an end. It's very embarrassing how it plummeted. I no longer want to have my name nowhere near attached to it. Part of the reason is why I became a very serious author. And and I don't align towards wearing the dreads and stumping around in black boots. That's not where I'm at. Nor will I ever be there. So, if you want to hear your Egyptology and all of that, you go to your sonnetters. I could spit on Egypt, and the gods that I'll bring forth in Egypt, they'll never mention because they're not really Egyptologists. Their intention is to only get streams off of you. They have no true intention on giving you the details, the operations of metaphysics, and being able to survive amongst the gods and utilize the gods for your everyday survival in this dimension. They don't put it into a space of reality. But as I discussed earlier, the human brain ain't designed for no reality. The human brain likes a lot of bullshit. The human brain likes the attachment to bullshit. The human brain likes fantasy and propaganda and to be lied to, and a lot of exaggeration. And I despise all of that form of thinking. So I know there's a lot of people who have watched me over the years and thought I was some type of joke or hoax, and thought that the way I talk and the way I operate was some show for the YouTube. And then they got to know me personally, and they found out real fucking quick, and they walked away with with their bottom lip hanging. Okay, and I didn't have no intention to do that. I'm friendly by nature, you know what I'm saying? But once I see that you have an ulterior motive, I'm not friendly at all. Once I see that we're not equal on our same psychological status, I'm not going to be that opening or inviting to a motherfucker. You dig what I'm saying? And that's what it is. So if you want to download my videos, I suggest you do them now. They won't be around for that long. Do not repost any of my material. If you do, I will go to the extremes to get your channel pulled down. I will go to the extremes to get my videos taken down off of your page or site or whatever the fuck you're doing. Will I keep the music up? I'll keep the music up. If anything that I'm doing in the future is disturbed by the music that I put out, I will also take that down as well. As unfortunately, my audience has done nothing to secure that position. These are real things. These are real operations. There's a real way to move in order to keep things going, to keep the engine oiled. Okay, and we have yet to keep the engine oiled on a Michael Jackson, on a Prince, on a Isaac Hayes, on the Isley Brothers. We didn't keep the engine oiled on a UNIA. We didn't keep the engine oil on the Huey P. Newton and the Black Panthers. We didn't keep anything oiled and maintained. So therefore, why would I expect anybody to do that with me? I would have to be an extreme dumbass in order to expect that, because you don't have a record of it. Okay, and it's time to face the fucking reality, and I have to face realities all the time, and I'm facing a reality with the adjustments that I have to make right now. If anybody has any statements or anything they want to say or any questions, go ahead and post it up right now, and I'll definitely recognize it, and I will answer any questions that's given to me. Anybody want to make a donation, you keep me alive, I keep you alive, and I'll stick around. If somebody was to drop 10 racks on me right now, I'm staying right fucking here. There's gonna be videos put up tomorrow all week, but the chances of that happening are left as a question mark in the clouds. Do I have an optimism for it? Yeah, I'll leave the door open for the optimism. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be too pessimistic with the situation, but I have to go off of the record. Just like when you go get your driver's license, they go off your record. Just like when you go to court, they go off your record. Just like when you try to sign a lease for a new home, they go off your record. When you try to get a car off the lot, they go off of your record. They go off your credit report. So everything goes off of a record, and you are also a part of a record. When we have what has occurred with your race and what has occurred with the groups that have stemmed from your race, the so-called cults who have folded underneath the realms of booty. They've all folded from booty, and a lot of niggas thought I was gonna fold for some booty. Nigga, please, nigga, no. But due to the fact that you have that negative thinking, and I've witnessed that the people in my audience do have that negative thinking about me, you've been proven wrong. Okay. And that is the best thing you could do in this dimension, is prove dumbasses wrong, because natives by nature think in a negative format. And that's why you got to keep a distance, okay? Because of the thinking in a negative format. That is the natural standpoint of the majority of natives, okay? This is the reality. This is the reality, my friend. There's no illusion here. I put up the Cash App. I put up the PayPal link. If y'all want to hit the line, like I said, thanks for those who have already done so. You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate y'all for being around here for years with me, but all good things do come to an end. And that's just what it is right now. And until there's any type of safe space or any type of seriousness around that realm, it's going to I have to make whatever decisions that is appropriate for me and my future. And I've said a lot of things on the YouTube that don't match with the modern day thinking of people. As we can go ahead and guesstimate, the standard thinking is very SpongeBobby. It's very idiocracy. Is very counterproductive. It's very self-sabotage. Like I hear my niggas in LA complaining about how the population has dropped. It's like, well, nigga, what did you expect? You niggas been out there with the self-sabotage bullshit since the motherfucking 70s. You've been out there shooting each other up, killing each other, doing all this shit. You're getting locked up. What, you thought the population was gonna grow doing that type of activity? Or you wasn't even paying attention to your demographics at that time? You see what I'm saying? So, I don't, I'm not going to celebrate any form of backwardness, nor do I want to be connected to any form of backwardness, and that's just for the sanctity of me. I know a lot of people out here have the mentality of, a lot of people out here have the mentality of, you're supposed to go ahead and sacrifice yourself for the people and blah 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 blah. And no, you're a dumbass. That day is over. There's not going to be any more situations of leaders that get killed by their own because they're trying to help their own. But we also see that type of mentality in entertainment. And that's why artists have to leave through the back door, and that's why artists have to have bulletproof vans, and that's why artists have to have, security guards and bodyguards and all of this other nature, because of the angry mob or the happy mob or whatever the fuck they are type of mob. It's a mob, and the mob will rip you to shreds. Okay, because they are animal. They have an animal level of intelligence. They aren't architects. They aren't engineers. They aren't scientists. They aren't chemists. They aren't lawmakers. They aren't judges. They aren't authors. They aren't doctors. They aren't surgeons. You understand? You're an animal. Okay, and until you have achieved areas of gentlemanism and above, you're an animal that was birthed by an animal. And these are the rules. I know a lot of people don't like those rules, especially the women. They don't want to hear that type of stuff, because now you're stating that they have to love their children and raise their children to be to contribute to society. And they don't want to know anything about that. They just want to get drunk, do their thing, have fun, and then that's all they do for 18 years with their children is fun, 18 fucking birthday cakes. And then when Junebug gets 18, they say, you know what? You need to go get a job. I can't have you around here. I can't have two men in the house. And she wants to get dicked down by the nigga that's cutting her goddamn grass. As a matter of fact, she need to let that nigga motherfucking beat up the coochie, because she don't want to pay for getting her grass cut. You see, and Junebug you in the way. So you got to go ahead out here to the world, even though she done kept you away from the world the whole entire 18 years. She even kept you away from the niggas that was on the block and made sure that you was going to church every Sunday. And then when you get out here in the world, you ain't got no understanding of, submitting to a superior would be your manager. You have no gratitude or admiration towards your check and what you're going to do with your finances. You don't know none of that shit, because you were raised by this angry woman that didn't even look at you as a child. She just looked at you as an 18-year check to get her child support. You're not even a human. You know, you were just there to assist within her survival. You know, and that's what a lot of my niggas need to understand is that, you know, the women with babies, they usually operate off of survival instinct. She's not really loving you. Her whole operation is based off of survival instinct that has been activated once she had the child and the father and the original father is not around, even if she chased that father away. Okay? Yeah, I know it's a cold system, and a lot of people don't want to know the coldness of the system. But if you don't know the coldness of the system, your chances of survival are very, very slim. Very slim. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, go ahead and put up some comments or something, man. Y'all engage, man. You know, say something, ask a question or something, or I'm just gonna bow out gracefully, and I can't tell you when I'll be able to put up another video. You know, because I got tons of things to do, and I got heavy weight on my shoulders right now. You know, so let's put up these links here. Remember to hit the Cash App. Once again, appreciate you, Gene Cole, and Brent Booker that's in the room. I definitely appreciate that. You know, I appreciate y'all. You know, I always have. That's why I made sure I put out information where nobody can fuck with you. You know, now name another person that did that. You know, but you know, my days of hiatus and sayonara is coming, and they have to come because I've been given some opportunities that nobody in my audience group could give me. Well, I'm not going to really say that. It's pretty clear that there's been millionaires and elite motherfuckers been watching my videos for a long time, but they don't got the balls to say shit. They're not going to say shit, you know, because that's just how that realm operates, you know. And I definitely know that now because I'm brokering deals with these individuals with Picassos and paintings and all this other stuff. You dig what I'm saying? And I might put up a video announcing the establishment of Covenant Art Capital, which is the name of my business, but we're doing a lot more than just art. Trust me on that, you know, and blue chip painters. We're doing watches, diamonds, you know, anything that you need that is an investment piece. I can definitely provide it. And we're talking about I could provide you $20 million paintings. I have direct access to all of that, to the vaults. So basically the stuff that's in my literature, the Kicked Out of Heaven, I can now pull out of the book and give it to you. You know, if you got the right level of finances to purchase it, you know, and that's just the truth. And shouts out to all my niggas that may be watching that went ahead and stepped up to the batting diamond and hit the home run. You dig what I'm saying when it comes to spending time to, you know, attain the intelligence to operate in this field. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say with that. You dig what I'm saying? So all 3 books right now for $33 at Kicked Out of Heaven, and that price does include the shipping and handling. You know, at $33 you should be purchasing it, and you want to be slick, purchase it and then put it in your book bag and go into Barnes and Nobles and just leave all 3 volumes on the shelf. You know, let's see what happens. You know, purchase it, go to your local library and just leave all 3 volumes on the shelf in the library. You know, yeah, my stuff is being sold on Barnes and Nobles, of course, but in order to have it tangibly inside the store, there has to be a large demand for it, you know, and obviously the material is a little bit too advanced and a little bit too threatening by size. You know, can I talk about the brother wants to hear about the art industry that I'm supposedly getting into? It's highly detailed. There's a lot of detail. I don't know what specifically you want to hear about it. So if you can mention, you know, the art industry is very, very, very vast. It's very wide open. So you would have to actually like have a more fine-tuned question for me to explain whatever you would like to hear about it. I'm not doing too much explaining when it comes to the videos that I'm putting up on the YouTube, because I understand clearly that the majority of people don't comprehend, and you have to have a large level of appreciation, not only for just art but for existence, and also detail, and you have to have appreciation for time, and you know you have to have an appreciation for dedication, but basically, if we're going to be quick with it, on the financial side of the art game, it's um, a documented market, but it's also undocumented, because appraisal values are not the same as retail or resale values. So basically what I'm telling you is that I could cop a painting at 2 million, and my homeboy has, I got a friend who has 10 million that he needs to put somewhere, if you know what I'm saying. And he can buy my painting for 10 million, and now the painting's value is at 10 million, and his money is somewhere. And 2 years down the road from that 10 million, that painting can be valued at 20 to 30 million because of the appreciation of time, and also mint condition, and there's a lot of other factors that come in. But basically, it's definitely a way to legally inflate numbers. There's no tax put upon the purchasing of art, and there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of other technicalities that make it beautiful, and there's a lot of other systems that operate within inside the art industry that definitely allows you to stay afloat as a millionaire or a billionaire. And this is one of those systems Europeans have developed over time, because you have to understand that canvas paintings and oil paintings is something exclusively of Western civilization, is not a thing that was copied from an ancient Egypt or Greece or even Rome. The first oil painting done on canvas was done in around the 1500s. There's not a full exact, but of what time period it was or who it was, because a lot of the old master paintings, and that's what you call old masters, is anything that's in the 1500s, 1600s, and 1700s. Those old master paintings are basically inside vaults all across the planet. Now, when we talk about what you see in your local museum, the majority of what you see in your local museum are what you want to call reproductions. There's a mathematical system that happens on the canvas before paint is applied. So basically, I'm telling you that, the majority of artists are architects, regardless of how sloppy it may look, or a lot of people, especially on the lower level, can't appreciate the blending of colors or understanding of the detail that it takes in order to create said paintings. Big body paintings, like the old masters exclusively, are usually like 6 foot long and 5 feet within height. These paintings are humongous. Okay. And then also the frame takes a lot of detail to create, specific woods that are used for the frames and things of that nature. And there's old companies that are no longer in existence, that made those frames, that have to be researched, and that's a part of the purchase history. Usually your paintings have to have a purchase history for its validity, that it's not a reproduction by some thief or some scoundrel somewhere. Paintings are usually signed. Like I said, it depends on what you want to know, because there's a lot of different layers pertaining to the art industry, and I can't say that I'm a master in understanding. I just got into the field, but I definitely get it, and I definitely get what's going on, as a lot of these paintings, including old masters specifically, are published to my soul because of the Kicked Out of Heaven series. And I never thought I'd be in this standpoint, but it did come to me, and I did get sort of pushed off the cliff in order to fly inside this industry. And it's beautiful because it's only billionaires up here talking. The lower levels of society don't have the understanding, nor do they have the respect to consider a Mark Rothko. And if I was to show you what a Mark Rothko is, maybe I should show you what a Mark Rothko is right now. Yeah, I think I'm gonna bust your head real quick. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Okay, Mark. Let me see here. Okay, let me see here. Let me see what we got here. No, that's not gonna work. Okay, let me see what we got here. Okay, so let me show you something. This is Mark Rothko. Let me see what we got. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me see what we got. See that? These are Mark Rothko paintings. Mark Rothko is considered to be an MCM painting. I mean, an MCM painter or a blue chip artist, which is mid-century modernist. A mid-century modernist means anything that's inside the space of 1950, 1960. And this is definitely the shift zone in between the old masters into the pop art. Okay. Now, you looking at that painting is like, oh, yeah, it's just some colors on the screen, right? Yeah, right. Let me show you something about this. These paintings that you're looking at are valued in the space of 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. Okay. Yeah, like this one right here. You see it? It says sales for 46.5 million. This one right here. You see it? It says Sotheby's sales of Mark Rothko for 46.5 million. Is that showing up on the screen? Let me see. It's showing up on the screen. Yeah, you see it right there? Yeah. So Mark Rothko, which he's done a lot more work than just these blends of colors, but these blends of colors is what really advanced his career. And usually as a painter, a lot of these painters live to be about 80 to 90 years old, and they, what they call dying with the paintbrush in your hand. And that's exactly what happened. So a lot of these individuals have put out a mass amount of work during the course of their life, and they were extremely dedicated to producing these works. So, for instance, Picasso, scholars say that Picasso has anywhere from 90,000 to 150,000 paintings out there in the world. And they have to be authenticated, and they also have to be appraised, you see. So, in order to produce some of the colors that you see on here, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of focus, okay? And it's really grabbing when you stare at the dedication that was done on these paintings. And I know a lot of people on the bottom level don't comprehend that, but in essence, that's why people are on the bottom level, because you don't understand it. Okay, look at this shit. This Mark Rothko painting sold for $82.5 million at auction. Do you understand, my dog? Woo! Numbers. Now, here's the thing that's so phenomenal. The lower level thinker says, oh, man, what the fuck is that? You sell that shit on the motherfucking 82.5 million. What the fuck are they looking at? Just some fucking colors on the goddamn campus. You're a peon. You don't understand the goddamn thing. For number one, let's put that in the air. You know what I'm saying? For number two, the consideration it takes to create that, and also what you're really looking at is a lot of mental exploration, in order for you to even put that together and have the balls to put that together and then put it out there for sale. You see, as you can see right here, his paintings are definitely inside a multitude of museums. And this is a piece right here that was done before he started doing these block paintings, which got him the dough. And then not only that, what you got to understand with these type of numbers is that, guess what? these numbers were already moving before you were even thought of. You didn't even know nothing about it. So what you have to do is figure out how and why. You have to bring justification to why it's moving at 82.5 million. Okay. And so that takes a lot of sitting down and a lot of thinking, but I already got a lot of painters in my system. My sister paints, my homie Mario paints, my uncle paints. I got a painting from my uncle that's on the wall right now. This one right here is the Salvatore Mundi. This one sold, I think, for about 50 million, which is supposedly like a Jesus. And then what's really interesting about this one right here is he has a crystal ball in his hand, but this is supposed to be an original painting of the Jesus. Okay. And this painting right here was actually found in a antique shop and was originally sold for over 1,000. And then it went through authentication process and found out that it was an old master. And with that old master, the price of it skyrocketed. So you have to understand that there's a lot of systems in place to check the value and check the history of a piece. This right here is what we call the Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol does these type of pieces, the Marylands, and Andy Warhol's estate is no longer in function. So it's sort of hard to get his stuff authenticated because there's a lot of duplicators and it's very easy. You see, this painting right here is nothing compared to, but he's also considered an MCM artist. And this was basically Basquiat's mentor was Andy Warhol. Okay. So, Andy Warhol has a multitude of these different pieces and it's easy. It's simple. This is nothing in comparison to what we find with the 1500s and the 1600s. Okay. And I'm going to pull up a couple of those here in a second too. So appreciate the colors, appreciate the announcing of the color, the loudness, the brightness, what it does to your eyes, and if you don't have that level of appreciation, guess what? You'll never get to 46.5 million to spend on a goddamn painting. You'll never see a million in your life because of one word, appreciation, that you don't have. And that's why these paintings appreciate in value. So let's go to another one. Okay. This one's really important. And this guy is definitely held dear to me because he died in a green Oldsmobile convertible Delta 88. So that just shows you how deeply connected on the metaphysical side I am with this type of shit. So Jackson Pollock is who this individual is, and this is called abstract painting. Okay, so what you just saw with Mark Rothko, I think that's called contemporary painting. So there's different forms of paintings that are they get categorized into what their styles are. Okay, so let's look at what the value is on a Jackson Pollock. Let's see what we got here. Boom, Jackson Pollock right here, 140 million for this painting right here that you see. You see that? 140 million. We're not playing with the numbers. Margins is what we're talking about. Business margins. Okay, that's what we're talking about. So you can find a Jackson Pollock in somebody's storage unit, especially in places like New York or New Jersey or maybe even LA. There's a lot of these paintings still floating around here. And we're talking about margins, people. $140 million on this painting, okay? And then I'm going to show you one more here, which, I hope. Well, I'll show you two more. Well, William Hogarth, who is in the beginning of the volume 2 with the Gin Street and the Beer Lane, those are prints, and those aren't paintings, but prints have high value too. So let's go to one of my dearest ones, and we're gonna go to Hieronymus Walsh. Okay, let's see here. Painting value. Okay. The Garden of Earthly Delights. Okay. This is serious stuff here. See, this type of stuff right here is what you want to call extreme detail. Okay, let me see here. Can I click on it? Can I open it up? This is extreme. This stuff is hard to make, man. Look at the detail of the plants. Look at the detail of the phasing of the ocean in the background with the little island back here. Look at the insanity, and look at the freedom of the mind that could even put these type of scenes together. Okay, and you see the detail of the tree trunks underneath the tree, and the trees have fruits on them. You see, all of this stuff is very hard to do. The details of the ladybugs over here on the tree, that stuff is hard to do, but the idiot who has been raised on memes and been raised on Instagram sees no power in this. They just see a flat screen. But what you don't understand is a lot of this stuff has to be done in layers. Okay, so like a serograph, for instance, when they create a serograph, which is a reproduction of a painting, because the oil paintings are a one of one. So what happens is when they create a serograph, they actually have to do it color by color for each day. Okay, so they lay one color down, and then they have to wait for it to dry, and then they have to come back the next day and do another color, and it takes a very long time to produce this stuff, man. Look at the fades of the pink that is on this individual that is, imitating a Jesus figure with the two fingers up and the thumb, which is the Holy Trinity symbol of Catholicism, and you see this other entity here, which is definitely, this is a reproduction of an Adam and Eve type scene. And usually when you're dealing with the and the Garden of Eden, as this painting is called, the Garden of Earthly Delights. And when you're dealing with, your old master paintings, you're usually dealing with mythology scenes and, a recreation of nymph scenes and recreation of Zeus scenes. And sometimes they even repaint. You see, look at this shit. Look at this. Do you see the center panel of the Garden of the Earthly Delight? What type of level and mind is this right here to produce that? Let me make sure. Yeah, to produce this. This is madness. This is madness to do this detail. And you're looking at the shades of that's underneath the animals, inclusive with the different colors of the animals and who's riding the animals and all the activity of the different beings on this canvas. Have you lost your mind? And this is done on wood. So, and this is done on what they call a triptych. A triptych is usually like 3 panels that are put together that have a big scene on it, but you can separate the panels, and you really shouldn't separate the panels, but you can. You dig? So yeah, you have to understand details, and you have to have an admiration for details in order to, to consider the art that was put together and the time that it took in order to make this. Like this painting right here was sold for $850,000. Even though it's far more detailed, but as it comes to the ignorance of the new generation, we do not respect the old, and we only don't respect the old because you want to poke your chest out and be respected like the old was respected. Okay, so yeah. That's it. If you got any questions about the art zone, you better shoot them now, because I'm about to go ahead and get up out of here. And a lot of people be talking like, oh yeah, 720, you be talking down on people. No, I'm just demanding greatness. And that is what, I'm demanding that you test yourself. I'm demanding that, you try to, reach for the highest heights of whatever you can do. Challenge yourself, and a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are very comfortable in their position, and they don't want to do anything in the realm of greatness, because it's such a large responsibility, and they're scared of the embarrassment of failure. And you must fail repetitively in order to succeed correctly. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I definitely appreciate you for spending your time with me today. I definitely appreciate the donations that were given. Okay, I want you to go ahead and get this kicked out of heaven. Just get it. You have to get it. There's a lot of if you want these paintings and you want to admire art, like the way I set it up in the 3rd volume, for you to admire art, and that's why the third volume, half of it is a museum. I did that on purpose so you can have some consideration for the possibility for your possibilities and for things that have already occurred on this planet. You dig what I'm saying? Regardless of race, you know. So yeah, and there's also black painters out here that have done phenomenal works, but the black race does not have an appreciation for black art like you know Europeans do. As a matter of fact, I'll just tell you this story real quick. When I went to go buy my dollies from some ladies, they they showed me a sand art piece that she said was her favorite. And the sand art was of the continent Africa that was designed into a black woman's face. And she said that was her favorite piece and she wouldn't sell it to me. So, what does that tell you? And that is one reason why I don't support any forms of racism. I don't support any forms of ignorance, but I do respond to what has occurred on this planet. And because that's the only way we can know how to move in a better light. So as I've stated, if y'all want to download some of my old videos, you better get to it now. There's no telling when I'm going to take these videos down, but it will be soon. And they will never be posted back up again. Okay? So I don't know when I'll be doing a video again. I guess that'll be all dependent upon your force, okay, and your desire to have me here. Yeah, the $33 for the Kicked Out of Heaven, that includes the shipping and handling, and it is for the physical copies. The only copies that are left in color, because after these copies that I have with color are all gone, you will be stuck with the black and white version that is being sold on Amazon. So I suggest you go to Kicked Out of Heaven and get as many copies as possible. Find people, tie them down, and force the information into their soul. Because if it's not done with force, it's not going to be done at all. If you don't do it, it's not going to be done at all. And that's just the bottom line. So there is no sitting back thinking that everything going to be all right. There is no pacified ass fucking bullshit, because that's not going to occur. You need to be aggressive and you need to get the things done and put things in your own hand, because if you put stuff in other people's hands, they're just going to wash their hands and let whatever you put in their hand go right down the sink. So I'll go ahead and put these links up. Y'all donate, keep me alive. I keep you alive. That's the rule. If I get a large amount of donations right now, what is that going to do? That's going to give me the drive to be here tomorrow. But if there's no donations and there's no purchases and there's no raffle tickets being bought, then what the fuck am I doing? Well, why are we wasting our time? And that's just what it boils down to. You see? So I looked out for y'all. Hopefully you have the heart, and your mother raised you with some etiquette and some reserve to have to know how to respond with reciprocation when somebody is given to you. I've dedicated a lot of time to this, and fortunately I put myself in a position where I wasn't going to be wasting my time. But if I was to put myself in a position to be waiting on doing a lecture with Bobby Hemmett, nigga, where would I be? So I deal with reality. I hope y'all deal with reality too. I put the Cash App up. I put the Kicked Out of Heaven up. I put the God720.com up. And y'all go ahead and shop at those locations and keep it alive. Otherwise things will die. And that's just how existence works. So I definitely appreciate y'all being here. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Let me see what songs we got. I'm gonna play with 2 tracks, and we are done. You understand? I might be here tomorrow. I might not be. We'll see. So y'all get at me if you got any further questions about anything, you want to get involved into some art, or you want to figure out anything about some art, or you want to purchase what I got right here. This is going for 2 racks, but in a year it'll be 6 racks. That's what you gotta understand, and it sits up on your wall, and the people that you invite to your home don't even know its value, because the majority of society has no appreciation towards art, and they don't know how this system works. So yeah, y'all get at me. I'll be around. Peace. What are we doing? Stay alive. 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 Ravage like a savage, schizophrenia fun. Have you ever seen a skeleton and breathe with no lungs? All ribs, no tongue, steady bumping on his gums like they cocaine numb. The ungrateful sons that take shit from none. Red rum, come and get you some. Out the lake I come, the ocean depths, I rose some less. Turn ghost to flesh, a skull with no nose that got smoke for breath. Come close to death and appreciate life, cause it might be tonight that you walk to the light and meet the great judge, cause law don't make love. A bat plus the dove equals OJ's glove. Yo, shit ain't organic, it don't come from the mud. Become gigantic when they think that you're young. Slave ship Titanic, the prodigal one on an impossible run, unlocking a ton from an Antarctica dungeon. Regardless, the heartless is always running. Fuck that smart shit, I'ma keep it 100, just in case you was wondering. We come for the hunting, now ain't that something? When slaves dig their own grave all in a day. Gold teeth for the skull, cause we gonna stay paid. Yes, stump the game, the top hat gon' play for the lost souls that need home, come this way. So shall I say, stay alive. 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 A wizard and gentleman, I'm Pippin O'Gilligan, the Indian, Caribbean, the lizard amphibian. You come for the rum, for the sugar and cinnamon, but the soul is the gold, yes, the secret ingredient. And I bet you can't see me in a thin whirlwind. Make your wife my girlfriend, onyx and pearl skin, a vulture and pelican, alligator shoes on, call me Brazilian. My culture American, my diamond Sicilian. When it's French, it's French, at death's expense. Set your spirit on fire till your heart's content. Can't start no shit, it won't make no sense. The poltergeist defense, don't leave no prints, just give me the mint. The abundance is redundant, I must admit. Only betting the pig, so his throat gets slit. I'm a witch doctor, African and Celtic. The meek will inherit the earth until you perish the dirt. This is the state of the art, my nigga, cherish your work. Never embarrassed because it's the dark I lurk. This is Vlad the Impaler, the Ottoman Turk. Shaka Zulu Part 2, just a rebirth. Some of you need church because you grieve your curse. Be thankful for what you got, it could be a lot worse. We all raising it to hell, who gonna be first? The atmosphere my turn. Stay alive. 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 Stay alive.
necessary. That's why I carry. By any means necessary. That's why I carry. Shouts out to X at the window with the gun. Or was it the Tech 9 and KRS-One? When is the best time to make your ops run? Make they so fly. Keep my 45 looking like the FOI. Hollow rounds that sound just like a war cry. Should've stayed down cause now it's crunch time. When I walk away and take everything that's mine. Sacrifice your fate when you dropping a dime. The silver tongue devil drinking from the grapevine. The anger on this level can be called a hate crime. Justified before I'm tried, guess that's fine. How a nigga gon' provide and he ain't got spine? These begging ass niggas that ain't got no grind. That's why I drop a stack on the Krishna shrine. I keep one in the chamber and a switch on my 9. Then my victims stand in line. They gotta take a number and better bring a lunch. Full moon, I'm under with a werewolf's hunt. My witches got intuition and riches on the hunch. My family's a dynasty, they all get a cut. We don't believe in luck. The miracles are literal with physical bucks. Tinted windows invisible in that Maybach truck. Can't be seen. 21st century on that gangster lean. Puffing on the finest green. Then I get away clean. They eyes wide shut just like fentanyl fiends. And once they open up, it's the end of your dreams. I'm a solo nigga known for taking whole teams. But I'll tell you one thing. By any means necessary. That's why I carry. By any means necessary. That's why I carry.